Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at different types of whirlwinds with a little list. We're going to start off with some minor whirlwinds, starting us off with a leaf eddy. This is you have a pile of leaves on the ground, usually in the fall. Around a tree, the wind will wrap around the tree on a windy day, get to the pile of leaves and cause them to spin a little bit. These are pretty common. They're harmless, they last a couple seconds. Then we have a dust devil. These are often, form in the desert or just in a pretty dusty, pretty dirty area. They form on hot, dry, clear days when the sun's heating the ground up very intensely. It would cause this pocket of air, or a pocket of air, that would become buoyant and then spin. These are harmless for the most part. They can get pretty big. There's a pretty famous video of one. However, that's CGI. That was all fake. I'm sure you've seen it. Inspired a lot of memes. But these can be pretty strong, actually. They can actually get up to 70 miles an hour in terms of wind speed. And while it is extremely rare for a dust devil to kill somebody, deaths have happened. But in the category of devils, we have a snow devil. These are pretty rare for just in general, but usually up in the north, in terms of like Canada or up on mountains, when wind is blowing around the snow that hasn't really stuck to the ground, it can cause this little snow area to spin a little bit. While usually harmless and weak, they don't really do a whole lot. You can see them sometimes if you're at a ski resort. Then we have a steam devil. These are very small. It's water vapor. It's water vapor that'll spin similar to, a dust devil, I guess you could say, but forming over water. Forms over, warm water or just like wet ground, very like, spring, how the grass is real wet, all the dew in the morning. This cold air can come in over these like warm patches of water and grass, causing this area to spin a little bit. You can see them on the Great Lakes or very commonly on the hot springs within Yellowstone. I bet there was somebody back in like the 1800s that lived on the Great Lakes. Late at night, had their little lantern in their hand, saw it moving across the water, thought it was a ghost or something. That probably has happened. Then we have a hay devil. I don't know this was a thing until I wrote this. But these are literally, think of it as a dust devil, but it forms in a field, right? It's, once again, all of these are harmless. Well, at least right now, the ones on this list are harmless. We'll get to some that, can kill people. It's literally just, when they're forming hay bales, how there's still some hay on the ground. On a windy day and very hot and sunny, the wind can blow across the field and cause a little spin, picking up all the hay, causing ourselves a hay devil. But now we're moving on to like the more serious whirlwinds, right? These are some where, it's like, you might want to stand back a little bit. You want to get your distance from some of these, right? We have a gust-nado, not a tornado. We're not at the tornado part of this list quite yet. This is a small ground level, like a whirlwind, basically, that forms across like the leading edge of a thunderstorm. When the thunderstorm's moving in, its outflow or gust front, as the actual definition term is, it can cause a gust-nado to form. See, these are different because it forms it forms at the ground than rather a tornado forming, on the cloud. These do not connect to the cloud either. These can cause damage, but these are considered to be thunderstorm winds, not tornadoes. Then we have ourselves a fire whirl. This is different from a fire NATO. Okay, a fire whirl is the flame itself spinning in a tight core. These are often made of fire, and the smoke. It's often made visible from the smoke that'll form while it's spinning. But these can, as I said, it's a burning core and a rotating pocket of air that would, of course, give it the spin effect. But these can get extremely hot, up to like 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm talking about this is very hot. But then we have ourselves a fire NATO. This is different from a fire whirl. This is basically, you could consider this a tornado, but technically it's not. But this is all the fire and smoke together. It's, all the fire and smoke will form together, causing this massive column of like smoke and fire from the winds, and causing this to spin. It'll act like a tornado, but it's not driven by a thunderstorm. It's driven by the flames inside of it. These are very dangerous because while it's spinning, it can release all the embers and all the ash and cause the fire to spread faster. This is, a fire can create a massive updraft, bringing in all the surrounding air and sometimes actually merging with a wind pattern, which then gives the fire NATO. Well, it would create the fire NATO. Then we have a lava NATO. Yes, this is a real thing. This is rare. I wasn't able to find a whole lot of information about this. But basically, right, it is literally when a whirlwind forms over a lava lake or a flow of lava, it can cause a little spin of some lava, little lava tornado. Very interesting when you think about it. Then we have a water spout, fair weather water spout, not a tornadic water spout. That's different. A fair weather, these are, you can really, if you're out in like Florida or the beach in general, really commonly the Florida Keys, and there's a little rain shower not too far away, just off the coast, it can cause this column of air to come down in very calm waters, developing from the water surface and then reaching up into the cloud, kind of like a gust NATO. It forms on the ground rather than up in the sky. These are less dangerous than, an actual tornadic water spout, but they can still be pretty hazardous because all the wind can like move the umbrellas on the shore, which then that's pretty dangerous. But these form on hot, humid summer days. They can get pretty big, but they usually dissipate before they move ashore. But they can, capsize some small vessels, kind of like a jet ski or just a small fishing boat. But I don't know why you'd be fishing in the ocean, especially like that close to shore. While a tornadic water spout is literally just a tornado from a thunderstorm, a supercell, that moves across like a body of water. Like it moves across the lake as it continues along its path. A land spout, this is it. You can consider a land spout a tornado, but by terms of a definition, it's technically not. It can resemble a water spout, but it's over land. Now, it forms from developing converging winds, surface winds, under a growing thunderstorm rather than like the rotating part of a thunderstorm, which would form a tornado. These are, these can cause some damage. They can, lift a little bit of debris, but they're often seen on the Great Plains in areas, such as Colorado and Kansas. You would be able to tell the difference, at least in some cases, from the things I have seen. You can tell the difference between this and a tornado. Then now we're moving on to like the legit tornadoes. These are supercells, right? These form from the supercells. These are legit tornadoes. We have beginning us off with the smallest tornado, a rope tornado. This is the smallest and most common type. As the name suggests, they're long and thin, but these they often are seen in the forming stages of a tornado or as a tornado ropes out. They can even, as they stretch, they can even rope over each other, causing a little loop in the rope. But these can widen and grow into cone tornadoes. Cone. This is a type of tornado. These are, this is a classic smooth-sided, tornado. This is where the top, it's wide at the top and it like narrows down, kind of like a triangle towards, it's a triangle, wide at the top and narrows as it approaches the ground. This is the classic image of a tornado. When you Google tornado, you'll probably see a cone tornado. But these are the ones that, someone's going to doodle in their notebook in class when they're not paying attention to the teacher. But these can widen a little bit more and then go into stovepipe tornadoes. These often look like an elephant's trunk and have the same shape from the cloud all the way to the ground. So think of it like a big tube, right? These don't really look like an average funnel because it's a perfect shape through and through, but these can still be very dangerous. Then we're moving on to wedge tornadoes. This is top of the line. This is Seek Shelter Now. These are very deadly tornadoes. These are where it's wider than it is tall. Some prime examples being, 1999 Bridge Creek, 2011 Hackleburg, and even the 2013 El Reno tornado. But these are usually, when a tornado is a wedge, it is the strongest, often EF3 or stronger. But these are incredibly deadly tornadoes. They can even become rain-wrapped. Now, rain-wrapped tornadoes are even deadlier, because as you cannot see the tornado itself, it is, as the name implies, it's wrapping all the rain around it from the storm. Of course, the very famous example is the 2011 Joplin tornado, which took over 150 lives. But then we have a drill bit tornado. These are skinny, very skinny, but incredibly violent tornadoes. They get their name from being very fast moving in terms of like rotation. It has very tight, rapid, fast rotation. These can be less than 20 feet across, with one of these having winds of 170 miles an hour. The 2020 Ashby, Minnesota EF4 was a drill bit tornado. Then we have ourselves the twin and satellite tornado. This is the rarest type. When you see a satellite tornado, it is often associated with incredibly violent tornadoes. The 2014 Pilger, Nebraska was a case of twin tornadoes where both of them were EF4s, instead of one being an EF4 and the other one being like an EF1. That is sometimes the case where one is, you have an EF3 and then you have an EF2 as its satellite, which is the case in 2021 of the Bowling Green EF3. It had an EF2 twin as it was striking the city of Bowling Green itself. which of course led to these two tornadoes hitting Bowling Green at the same time. Then we have ourselves a multi-vortex tornado. This is also very violent, but this is where you have the main funnel, and then you have all these small vortices coming off of it, which those by themselves are kind of like, think of it as like the tornado itself, and then the vortice is like a mini tornado leading off of it. But the vortices can be small, they can be very big, but it'll usually form a vortice, dissipate, and then form another. Now, some examples is the Dead Man Walking tornado of Gerald, Texas. And I even think that the 2011 Tuscaloosa tornado had multiple vortices as it struck the city. But then we are moving on to like things that are not tornadoes, but it can cause some people to be confused. It can scare the general public. We have a scud cloud. This stands for scattered cumulus underdeck. These are very frequently mistaken to be funnel clouds or tornadoes, but these do not rotate. There's like no need to worry. But these are quick moving because it's being pushed by the downdraft of the storm as the storm is moving in. It's just a low hanging cloud, but it's not doing anything. It's just a bigger part of the storm that's closer to the ground if you want to think about it like that. Then we have a shelf cloud, or a SLC. These are the low hanging like parts of the cloud as a storm is moving in, like attached to the thunderstorm's base, marking like the leading edge of it. Usually when you're standing out on your driveway and you look into the distance, you can see a low hanging cloud on a thunderstorm, when one's coming to you. That is usually what you're seeing. You're usually seeing the shelf cloud. This is, as it forms from when cool air from the storm's downdraft pushes warm, moist air upwards, causing that air to condensate, just making the distinct shelf or wave-like appearance. This is a sign, that a severe thunderstorm is approaching. Then we have ourselves a cold air funnel. I also never heard about this until I had to write this. But these are very weak, short-lived clouds forming from showers or weak thunderstorms when the air aloft is very cold and it meets like the warmer surface air. But sometimes these can cause some damage, usually EF0, so they're like really nothing to worry about, but don't like dismiss it as it's nothing. But that concludes the list. I'd like to thank Swiggle Studios for this idea. This whole video was inspired by his video about this. I highly recommend you check his channel out. But I would like to start giving some random facts at the end of these videos, you feel me? So we have ourselves fun fast fact number 1. The Enderlin EF5 of last year broke the longest EF5 drought of all time, standing at 13 years or 4,414 days, from May 20th, 2013 to June 20th, 2025. Oh, by the way, this EF5 occurred in North Dakota. Yeah, not the traditional tornado alley. Like Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, or even like a state like Mississippi, Alabama. No, this occurred in North Dakota. And it wasn't rated an EF5 immediately. It was actually rated an EF5 in October. They did a little bit of research on train cars that the tornado threw, and found out that it needed at least 270 mile an hour winds to do that. So they went, oh yeah, we're just gonna make weather history. Oh, by the way, that was an EF5. There's a little fact for you. But I'd like to thank all of you so much for watching. I know this video was much shorter than the first. That was kind of like my whole goal. because I know the first one was like 50 minutes. I didn't intend on it being that long, but I wanted a shorter video to like get people's attention, maybe for someone to stay a little bit longer. But feel free to share this video with somebody if you think they'll enjoy it. The plan is to upload hopefully more often. I'll just have to like see, since I am in college. This isn't like what I'm doing. I have to do like schoolwork. I'm also trying to get a job. He's unemployed. Yeah, I know. But if I could stop procrastinating and lock in, hopefully I can upload videos like this more often. Well, I guess we'll just have to see. But until then, thank you for stopping by and watching this video. It truly means a lot. But until the next video, take care. Goodbye.